Welcome to the Scene Snobs podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Scene Snobs podcast. It is Tuesday night. I am your host, Mick Manhattan, joined as always by my co-pilot, Mr. Casey Blott.
No, it's such a pleasure. Thank you. It's wonderful to see all of you beautiful people, and thank you so much for joining us today. Mick, you look magnificent.
I shaved. I finally was
great.
Like, thank you. It was 2022. I'm like, yeah, I think it's time. I was like, because it was getting really thick. And I was like,
which is not a bad thing, but you always want to be wary of the undercarriage.
That is very true. Well, for me, I was looking online and I was like, okay, where are we at? Like, when I was hosting the show yesterday, the Geek Fest Live, I was like, why does my face look so big? And I forgot that when my beard gets puffy, my face looks big. And I was like, I need a shave stat. Like, my hair is still kind of short, so it still kind of works.
Yeah, it looks good.
In fact, I'm gonna take off that right now.
There you go. Be a hatless man.
And go, with a little bit of hat head or something. And just enjoy it. But so I was like,
I got it. Flaunt it, big guy.
When it's cold, so I don't like to get haircuts when it's cold.
That's the whole point of hair. Defend from the cold.
We got a few people joining us tonight. I want to say hi to everybody. Mr. John Walsh.
Hi, John. You look wonderful as always, you beautiful human being, you.
Thank you, sir. I've been appreciating your posts recently with the tyke and having some fun ones with that. Dadpool's here. What's up, AJ? How you doing, buddy? Kathleen.
Hi, Kathleen. You magnificent, wonderful human being. Glorious as always. Don't let anyone put you down, and I hope you are crushing it. It was great to watch your show last night, by the way. Welcome back.
It was a lot of fun. And you are the queen. So, Corinne Tucker. Hello, Corinne.
Love Corinne. Love you guys. How we doing?
And John says, when I have a beard, it almost looks like I have a chin. Well, you know what? I have plethora of chins underneath my beard. That's why I don't go too far down.
You don't stop putting yourself down in such a negative way. You look fantastic the way you are.
I do look fantastic with my quadruple chins.
Hey, man, it's not about quantity. It's about quality. And those are some great chins. I got.
When I do this, I look like a thumb. Anybody listening right now is like, I bet he does look like a thumb.
Well, I mean, you're just straight to shoulders. It's problematic.
I think the crown needs to be a regular thing in live shows. I agree. Actually, I kind of want to get a Burger King crown for both of us, and we'll be the princes of podcasting.
Yes, that would be great.
Are we the princes of podcasting?
Of course we are. What else would we be?
I'm down. I'm ready to do it.
I mean, we've been anointed by kings and queens. Might as well.
We got a podcast guy. We have the queen of podcasting. We have the princess of podcasting. It's like a royal shuffle all around here.
And a fool.
And a fool. No, you're one of the princes. There you go.
Maybe I wear a crown, bro, but I'm pretty sure my job is to dance and make you laugh.
No, sometimes, yeah. Well, I want to just say I appreciate everybody watching and having fun. And anybody's listening to this down the line, thank you for joining us. Please hit that like button because it really helps us go a long way. And we appreciate it. So, and if you like our content, maybe give us a subscribe as well on all podcast platforms or YouTube or wherever you're listening or watching. And please rate and review us on iTunes if you're listening.
We do not discriminate. Please listen everywhere and rate and review us everywhere you listen to us. And if we're terrible, remember 5 stars and tell us how bad we are.
5 stars. And when you say these guys are horrible, replace horrible with awesome.
Right. I mean, if that's how you feel, I don't want to tell anyone to not do what they feel after the 5 stars.
How do you spell shitty? AWESOME.
SUM. Bro, it's SUM. It's awesome.
Don't do the Jersey accent. John can be our fool. No, John is our errand boy. He's our
No, because part of the job is the fool. Part of the job, part of the job as the fool was to, in fact, tell stories and explain things in a funny way. So, because life was terrible in the Middle Ages. So if you could even make someone pretend to smile, he did a good job. And John does fantastic storytelling. So I'm in.
He does do that. Don't mess with your editor, Kathleen. Yes, do not mess with your editor. That's the smartest piece of advice anybody can ever give.
Yeah.
So going forward, guys, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, but we are starting something pretty special today, and that is we're going to start a long-form series where we are going to put under the microscope the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this stems from old conversations we've had. We hosted a show called Mystery Elephant years ago, and it even stems before that, where we were just chilling, hanging out, talking in the garage. And really what it comes down to is we had a conversation, a very in-depth conversation one time about what an OSHA employee would go through in Gotham City.
Yeah, what a nightmare hell that would be.
That was like a 4-hour conversation right there on our old show, because we were just like, this, you have to think about this, you got to think about this. And that was just an OSHA employee. So Casey and I talked about it, and we decided, okay, how do we revisit that because you're never going to like rekindle the flame of the love that you go through with it. But, and Kathleen, I'm getting to that very soon. But we're going to talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but from the perspective of the everyday people. And tonight we start phase 1. And phase 1, part 1 is going to be air traffic regulations and tourism in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. How does this work? Where does it come from? We're going to touch down on everything eventually. It's going to be a long series that goes on, but we're going to have a lot of fun throughout the year talking about it. So, but before we do that, and before we get to our first 2 topics tonight, I have to address Kathleen. That is a Mick mug. Yes, for anybody who's listening.
Why would I have a picture of you on my mug?
The Casey mug is coming. I'm telling you. It's
all right.
Happen.
So it absolutely is. It is a picture of Mick holding a mug. So Muck. The combination of Mick holding a mug is Muck. Are you ready for the saying? I don't give a sip.
Now, there's a funny story behind this. For anybody who's listening and not watching, if you on YouTube, you can go see the mug, and we'll post a picture of the mug on our Instagram. But here's the thing. Casey has a very long tradition of finding mugs for people or making mugs for people in the most epic of fashions. Like, he broke one of our old boss's mugs years ago and replaced it with a mug with a picture of himself on it, and it was epic.
Yeah, it was I'm sorry for breaking your mug, Chris, in it. That face.
Holding the mug. It was really well done. So Casey has a long-standing tradition of making fancy mugs for himself. So, and I am very honored to get the mug.
You should have it. You know what? You would only put your best friend's face on a mug. That's the way I look at it. So I feel like if I've reached the point in our life where I'd be willing to have your face on a mug, I mean, that should say where we stand. I'm just putting that out there.
Do you want to reveal the other mug that you had made? Because this is
So the other one is even better because it's a friendship mug. It is a mug of the times we've been to movies together. Pictures, so it's 3 pictures of a collage mug, if you will. And that one from Carolina Fear Fest, buddy.
Yep, that was a big one. Which while we're here, why don't we announce that?
Well, let's do it.
And that is, we are going to be going back to Carolina Fear Fest.
Whoop.
We are going to be representatives of Carolina Fear Fest. Like, the nice part about it is they asked us to be there last year. They put us up. They were really sweet, kind, and everything. There's a fantastic convention festival that they do. And we had just the best time. And we represented them to the best of our ability. But I feel like this year, now that we've been given more time, we can definitely go in there with some really fun, awesome ideas. And we can take it by storm. So if you guys...
more importantly, you don't have an antler inside of you that is crystallized and growing in your renal canal, creating serious pain to the point where you were functionally incapable of moving. And yet we played it off. I don't know how you did that. It was amazing to me.
Last year, I was so upset that we had to drive 5 hours to go there because I had this thing growing in my kidney. and I was a month out of surgery, and I just didn't want to like move anymore. But now that it's out of me, I'm 5 months away, and I'm like super excited for the drive.
Yes, because we're there, man. I'm so excited. They asked us back.
We're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be great this year, and we are gonna kill it. I will say this. Shoots and blabber. I want a mug of Nick holding a mug of Casey holding a mug. I will do that. In fact, at the end of this episode, I'm going to take a picture of Casey holding the mug, and that is what I'm going to use.
This one right here.
Idea. Either one, I will do. You should just hold both of them up, and I'll just get a picture of that. But we are going to, just so you guys know, we are going to have some new merch coming out. We have a very special friendship shirt that, not just shirt, but all our merch goes on everything, but a very special friendship design that's coming out. And I'm kicking around the idea of our Han and Chewie Halloween costume picture being up. So if anybody's familiar with that, maybe you can get yourself some fun merch. Working on
it. We've got a lot of stuff coming. We're super excited. 2022 is going to be full of hope and power and putting things into action. So we're doing the crazy. Yeah. So we're embracing the absurd because things have only gotten crazier. So we have to embrace harder, right? That's what happens.
And actually, that reminds me of something, but I do want to say hi to Gerard. Hi, Gerard.
Hi, Gerard. Love buddy.
Gerard gave me, and I don't have it down here. I hung it up in the kitchen. It's a very awesome tin poster of the original Aquaman.
Oh, shit hot.
Comics design. He gave it to me for Christmas. It was gorgeous, and I loved it. And I still love it. It's still up. And I will take pictures, and I will show it to everybody on our Instagram. So go follow me there. Jason Taylor, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, Jason.
But before we get to what I was going to say about 2022, remember, everybody, so we will be at Carolina Fear Fest, which is in Raleigh, North Carolina. You can go check out carolinafearfest.org. And if you guys want to go book your hotel rooms now and buy your tickets and come down and hang out with us. It's going to be a great party and fun. So, all right. But you could have got me Superman and it would have been a god for a god. Yeah, I had to shit all over.
Remember, on Earth, we're only kings.
No, I listen. I love that he said that. Gerard is the best.
As a king for a king.
But, so I was thinking on the car ride home today, and I don't want to say it, but I feel like if I don't say it, I jinx it. Here's the thing. 2022 has been a rough year so far with the celebrity deaths. We, of course, lost Bob Saget.
Yeah,
recently,
that was hard.
Very sad. And a lot of people have attributed that to, we lost America's grandma and Betty White, and we lost America's dad and, of course, Bob Saget, which to us, Bob Saget has been a mainstay in our lives our entire life, because when you go from Full House, which we were kids when Full House came out and that was our demographic, to America's Funniest.
At the same time doing America's Funniest Videos. That was only like a year into Full House that he then got that.
Yeah. And so it came through and we followed that, and that was a mainstay. And then as we grew up, one of our coming to age in our 20s and 30s was How I Met Your Mother. And he was the narrator of our 20s and 30s. So it was such a big deal for us. And now he's gone, and we're sad to see it go. Sad to see him go. But we wish his family and the best. But I was thinking, I'm like, Sidney Poitier died. John Madden died. Yeah. Betty White died. All these older, really famous people. And then it dawned on me today, Casey, and I truly, really think that if I don't say it, it's going to be jinxed. I feel like I need to say it to not jinx it.
This is terrifying because I don't like to play this game. You're playing a dangerous game, bro. You're taking those fucking dice of fate and rolling them. So look, if you do this, you understand the consequences that come with it, and you're fully aware and functionally willing to accept them.
I have to. Accept them. I can't not. Okay. It's going to be documented.
Okay.
Dick Van Dyke is in his 90s.
Would you?
I didn't mean to, but I thought about it, and I feel like if I'm just keeping it in, the energy is escaping my head, and it's just going to get out there, and the gods above are going to hear it, and then they're going to come for him. But if I say it out loud to you, then it might not come true.
Then you definitely fucking curse him. Great job.
In person.
Oh,
No,
yeah, you did.
person.
Oh, yeah, you did. Dude, sometimes the spotlight doesn't need to be on things. So when you put the spotlight on things, then mentally they become a thing. And when you mentally create the thing and allow the thing to be a thing, now we are paying attention to those particles and the chance of those particles reacting differently.
No,
He's
I
made
don't
it very
believe
far
that.
on
I
being
don't
like,
believe that.
kind of middling to the low end. Don't be bringing his name in. Don't invoke his name in the same term of a conversation of the DEATH.
I don't always believe that. Sometimes I truly believe that if you keep things in, it is going to get out there. It is going to travel in the radio waves coming out of your brain, and it's going.
You don't think there are more radio waves coming out of your voice over the internet?
No, because people can tell me I'm crazy. People can stop it. People can shut it down, and then the gods will be appeased. And I feel like we're getting that.
What you just did. I just want to be on record as saying if he goes next, you're not going to have some strong words. Okay.
I know.
Look,
and
Dick Van Dyke not only has inspired me to be a goofy, wacky dude and always try to find the funny, but he also showed me that as old as he is, you can still find love at any age. So don't you dare take that away from me. So I'm not ready for the DVD to go.
I know. And I'm so sad and that I said it, but I can't not say it because we've lost so many important figures. Like, why can't? All right.
You want to play a game? Here, let's play a game. Sir Ian McKellen is almost 90.
Why would you do that?
I did it because that's got to take the heat off DVD, bro. Damn, yeah. Mick, you make me do that?
No, that's too much, dude. That's too. Just say Justin Bieber. I mean, come on. Like, I don't know. Like, say Bill Cosby. Like, come on,
man. Like, I can't even right now. Like, I'm so blown away by the fact that you threw that out there, and then I went way too far. So now, hopefully, the snapback of the reality is Angela Lansbury's the one who kicks it.
So Shoots and Blabber says, Mick, if DVD dies, I'm going to Mary Poppins you. So what, come to my house and make my life easier? So is that how much you dislike DVD?
Teach your children how to take medicine that back in those days was probably closer to fucking lithium.
Reach into your magic bag and like just make things so much more fun.
Or just show up and then teach you how to like use drawings and sidewalk chalk to jump into them and become an animated character.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds pretty awesome, actually. So if
actually, can you Mary Poppins over here? I could really use some Mary Poppins. Like the cleaning alone, just singing the dishes away would be awesome.
That would be truly amazing. We were pissing off so many people right now, but everything was fine until Pluto was demoted from being a planet. Something about angering an ancient death god, since everything is spinning in insanity and death. That's true.
Yeah, that's what happened. It keeps not being. Well, it's because no one really agrees with it. It's like Hades. I mean, I know he's the same character, but different names. Nobody really likes him. You just have to have him around. He's the guy who shows up at the party, and you're like, "Hey, awesome! It's so good to see you. Didn't think you were gonna make it. That invite was like a perfunctory one. I was just trying to be kind. I wouldn't." Shit, they said yes. Like Pluto's here again. Fuck.
So we kind of delved into the 2022 and its death curse that's going on right now a little hard.
Yeah, we went too hard. I wasn't ready for that. That was not supposed to be a conversation.
No, it wasn't. But we might have to drop one of the topics for tonight. So I'm going to let you choose. Which topic are we dropping tonight? Do you prefer movie news coming in a pre-internet era, early internet, or today's internet? Or do you want to talk about comic book movie costumes versus the source material costumes?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, what do you want?
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about movie news.
All right, that's a good choice because we can always come back to the to comic book movie costumes.
Yeah, because I have a lot to go on with the source material for costumes. I feel like that would be we wouldn't do it justice.
And we got to get to phase one at some point.
We got to get to phase one.
So everybody, most everybody watching can relate to this. Maybe not Kathleen, but we can all remember a time when pre-internet movie news and trivia and things like that was way different.
Like when Movie Phone was actually a phone.
And yeah, that's true. You had to call
Kathleen, this is not a
777
knock on you in any way. This is just an age thing.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's
straight up
it's
an
just
age thing.
factual. It is nothing against you.
And think about it, Kathleen. Think about it. You are as far away from where Dick Van Dyke's death is than anybody else in this continent.
Enough.
All right. That was bad.
God, this
I
is
don't remember
that was summoning it. See, now you're playing games, and nobody likes the games.
All right, I did play a game, and I'm probably going to piss a lot of people off, but we do that here. We talk about
It's
the
all right. It's fine. I'm going to say some prayers, throw some sage around. We're going to have a little seance thing over here. We'll be good. Betty and I are going to have a conversation.
What's up, Radar? He says, shit, remember when you had to call Fandango? And before Fandango, remember when you had to call 777 Film?
Yes.
That was like the universal all right, here's the thing. Before we even get to the early internet movie news, the GeoCities of it all.
Oh, well, GeoCities were amazing, but continue on.
Let's go to the early news. If you wanted a movie time, and this isn't even what I was talking about. I was talking about genuine reviews, news, things like that. If you wanted movie times, you had to buy a newspaper. And each newspaper, your local newspaper, had your local theater's movie times in it. There's something you have to explain to your kids one day.
Oh, well, actually, no. If you still do crossword puzzles out of the paper, it's just on the other side. And as a theater
movie times
nerd,
there?
What's that?
I don't think the movie times are in them.
Yeah. It was movie times and show times for if you wanted to go back to like on the New York Times, if you wanted to go through that crossword puzzle, it would have movie times locally, and it would also have show times for plays.
Oh, no. I knew that. What I'm saying is that doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, no, it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in my day, Netflix came in the mail.
It did. Yeah. When I first got Netflix back in, 2010 or so, and I was dating a wonderful woman back then. And then, yeah, man, I remember getting it shipped to her place first. That's the first DVD Netflix experience I had.
And then that was such a short-lived thing because comparatively, video stores were still around even after then.
Well, we also had Redbox. Redbox had a brief moment in the spotlight where it was huge.
Redbox is really good for people who just want to get the new movies and don't have a lot of the streaming services, or don't want to wait. But like things are changing now. The dynamics are. I think Redbox is going to go away soon. But video stores were around until the streaming came in. And I remember the early Netflix streaming and how that kind of went. But before we get there, because that's still I'm still calling that like early internet. I want to go back. Even Radar says right here, he's like, better not throw away that entertainment section in the paper, especially if you're a movie fan, because that's how you got movie trivia. You got it from books, usually going to a library.
Mm-hmm.
And that was never sound because it was always an author just writing things he heard, doing research.
Yeah. Leonard Maltin
was always good for it. And they would have the trivia. This is before IMDb. And then, or you had to read the entertainment section when they would do new movies come out, and they would do articles about them and learn about them. It was a batty world.
One of my English teachers was actually a critic and would write for the local newspaper. And I had a great time reading his stuff. He was wonderful. Great dude. But yeah, that was the closest connection I had to someone aside from my Leonard Maltin book. That was like from 2000 about, his review of basically every movie he'd seen up to that point. And it was insane. And that's what you had to go through. That's what you had to find for movie reviews and critiques. I mean, Joe Bob Briggs, someone who also...
Leonard Maltin was the number one because he put out the guide, and the guide just got bigger each year.
Yep, that's what I had. Yep.
And so like every year he just added the movies from that year to the book. So like it would be I'm saying 2001, but I should be saying like the 1991 Leonard Maltin Movies edition. And he was the guy. And Entertainment Tonight, that's how you got your information too.
Well, they would have all the special trailers after you finished watching John Tesh and what was it, Mary Hart? Huh? It was wonderful. I loved watching those two. And then they'd have a trailer, or they released, I think, Michael Jackson's Remember the Time was one of the first music videos I remember seeing on that.
No. Not Entertainment Tonight. Entertainment Tonight, did the behind the scenes look.
That's right.
Remember the time what came out during NBA, NBA Inside NBA on Saturday morning, because
with Ahmad Rashad.
Ahmad Rashad was in it. And so they put it out during Inside NBA the next day on Saturday. But the night before on Friday, they talked about the music video on Entertainment Tonight. Yeah, it was so bonkers too, because I remember they were like, oh, it has Eddie Murphy, it has Magic Johnson, it has this, it has that, and it's like everybody.
Big deal. They were so hot right now. It was so sexy and big,
and it's just everybody that was a part of it. And then it was the new. Remember how big? Oh my God, we're getting out of hand here because we're not even talking about internet movies and stuff like that anymore.
That's what we do. Just carry on.
That's true. Remember how big a Michael Jackson video coming out was? That was an event.
Oh, absolutely. Because we had when he married Lisa Marie Presley, and it was the "I'll Be There for You," whatever the damn song was.
No, it was what the hell is the name of the song? Somebody sound off in the comments. I can't remember.
Yeah, seriously, when they're just awkwardly rubbing on each other or whatever, and it's just very uncomfortable.
They're in that theater and they're just kind of like hugging, and he's shirtless, and it's weird. But you're going too late. You're going late. That was like mid 90s, not early 90s. I would say it was like 93, 94. You need to be going back. Remember when Bad? Remember The Man in the Mirror? You remember? Yeah. Remember
that's fair.
The times. All of these music videos.
Black and White with Macaulay Culkin. Black and White was huge.
Huge. Do you remember? Yeah. Do you remember the times? Remember the times? What came out? It was a Sunday night showing on Fox. No, that was Remember the Time. What was the name of the song? It was one.
Radar said it. You Were Not Alone.
No, You Were Not Alone was Lisa Marie. I'm talking about the one where he bashes the car with the bat and breaks it up.
Oh, it does the but pretty sure that's Bad.
No, Bad was in the subway. That was the Martin Scorsese directed one. I got it. Which one?
It wasn't Beat It.
No, Beat It was the one with
Eddie Van Halen. They do the knife fight. Yeah.
And that was a big one too, but that one was before Thriller. Thriller was like his biggest music video ever.
Right, and it totally is black or white. I was almost positive of that.
Was the one where he beat up the car?
Yeah, and maybe Smooth Criminal. He might do that one too.
That was a big one too. That was a big one. But this one,
Jason Radar.
Oh, it was black or white. Okay, so it was black or white.
When he had the arm wrap thing going on, and the weird whatever that was about.
On top of the car. Scream was a big one. AJ said Scream.
Remember when he came out with the one with him and Janet? And they were like interplanetary and all that? That was Scream. That was Scream. Okay, yeah. God, that was huge.
That was a huge event. That came out on a Saturday. I remember that. That was like a midday Saturday. So did Jam with Michael Jordan came out.
Hey, buddy, we got a static thing.
Oh, do we? How dare you?
Sorry. Is it me?
How dare you do this to me? So, what do you call it? There was, but Black or White came out. It was a Sunday night reveal, and it did not go well because it came out after like The Simpsons, and he tore up the car and he was like touching his groin. And I remember going to school the next day, and that's what everybody was talking about. Yep. I remember he had to go on, I think it was Barbara Walters' special, like a week later, and explain himself about it. Oh, it's just a tick. It's just a reaction or something. And
like the grabbing himself thing. Yeah. I remember that part. I remember that whole breakdown about how it's not sexual, it doesn't mean anything, and it's like, it's fucking weird. Either way, no matter what it is.
Yeah. So, and it was one of those strange events that, but Michael Jackson was always good for putting out a music video, but like his music videos didn't even like premiere on MTV, which was the big one. He put them out on like network television. Everybody was in. But yeah, those were, remember those times?
Who doesn't? That was always like, for me, that was school bus talk. That was the bus ride. Always the bus ride was, you had to know and be up on what happened on MTV, and you had to know and be up on what happened on either Entertainment Tonight or like some sort of musical line of the new music videos. That was huge.
Yeah. Yeah, it was always something like Ghosts. Ghost was another one where I remember Entertainment Tonight did a big piece on that. And that's not even like one of his more famous ones, but they really that was a big event too. That came out like around Halloween. All right, so we've been chomping a bit a little bit, and we didn't even get to any of our topics again.
No, we kind of did.
We did a little bit. We started, and then it reminded us.
We touched it. We looked at it. We waved at it.
I just love that it's 2 weeks in a row. So that's why we have to stick, because this is a long form series, and we've been putting it out for a while. So again, everybody, before we get started into our series that's going to be going on, please hit that like button. We really appreciate it. If you're listening or watching anywhere, hit the follow and keep up with us. Rate, review, wherever you are. We really appreciate it. And if you like our stuff, please subscribe. It's fantastic. So we talked about it earlier. We are starting a new series following MCU. We'll talk about it a little bit more. MCU series, this is our phase 1, and we're going to be talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe from the perspective of the everyday people that have to live in and what that looks like. And if you listen to the first part of the episode, you know where it all comes from, all stems from in history. But I want to ask you, Casey, because tonight we're talking about air regulations, the FAA, how they would deal, and other governments, air regulations, stuff like that, and the tourism industry in the world of the MCU. So for me, just to get the ball rolling here, what got me thinking about this was my wife works for the FAA, and I see how involved every department in the FAA is when things like the 737 Maxes that went down. That was a big deal for the FAA and the regulations that have to go with it. And then I think about if you're living in the Marvel world, what does that look like? What do you have to go through here? What kind of ramifications does this have if Mjolnir can just swing by at any point, or Tony Stark just crashes into a plane, which he's done over enemy territory?
Right. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to look at. I mean, that's the problem. You think as an air traffic controller, someone who's responsible for thousands of people's lives a day, like what a huge responsibility. And then you have some multimillionaire jackass who's able to just pop off in his suit of armor, which can clearly take out other vehicles and other aircraft. And he has laser beams. Okay, folks, laser beams don't fucking stop. It continues on the curvature of the earth and just keeps on rolling right on out of there. So that's problematic, being it could go who knows where. So on the ground, problematic, but you can see it usually when it reaches a stopping point, more concrete or potential mountains in the way. But when dealing with, air, and you're just firing it, and how many of those weird little missiles that missed something that just still kept floating and flying?
Yeah, they never stopped.
Star Trek alone is problematic. And then you have James Rhodes, who has a fucking minigun on his shoulder. Yeah. The man has a minigun on his shoulder flying through the sky.
Those bullets have to come down at some point.
Right.
But even going there and suspending disbelief on those, at least like somebody like Rhodey is connected to an air traffic control from a military standpoint.
True, he has to be. Yeah.
But no one else is. Thor isn't.
Yeah, I mean, and the idea that Jarvis is going to be on top of it all the time, sure, Jarvis will be on top of Tony, and Tony will get there, but not the way there's no one on top of a god. Who's controlling Thor's actions? It's not like Heimdall is linked up to him just going, oh, yes, you must turn left now because there's a 747 coming your way. They have no idea. They don't know.
But think about it from this perspective too. You have Tony Stark, who has shown, if you just go by Iron Man 1 and 2, he's an alcoholic who just flies in the sky. And even if Jarvis is telling him, hey, listen, the coast is clear, or this may come up, or you have to look for this, and he sees the patterns in his helmet. He already crashed into a plane by accident. The Hulk in the Avengers, when he jumps on the plane and they're over New York City. Now, granted, he dove.
Yeah.
He dove to empty warehouse. Great. I love that. That's fantastic. Thank you for being such a hero. The pilot did get out and was able to eject. Where did the wreckage go?
Yeah.
How
In
lucky
theory,
are
they
we?
always like to play the whole over an ocean. It's like, sorry, I don't believe that. There's not all landing in oceans.
Do you alert air traffic control when the Hulk room that they drop Thor in, and that's their big thing, is like, we're just going to drop this room,
yeah, and destroy him
and
wherever
destroy him, and it's a big room, and they're just going to drop it. It's an impenetrable room, so they're just going to drop this somewhere. Do you have to wait? Are you alerting air traffic control? Hey, how are the winds? Because we're going to drop the room with the Hulk in it.
I feel like S.H.I.E.L.D. has to be a part of that. I feel like whatever S.H.I.E.L.D. is tied into, however the network works, they're able to reach out to whoever's closest in that area and handle it. The problem is, after Hydra destroys S.H.I.E.L.D., and that's a problem I have. Hold the fucking phone. Wait a minute. I didn't even think about this before. So you're telling me these Hydra operatives have the opportunity and the ability to speak and screw things up with just simple, good old daily functions?
And not just that, one of their main Hydra operatives was a computer.
Yeah.
Armin Zola ran the computer systems. He could go into anything and screw it up.
Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing thing. It's just between those two factions fighting. So when Hydra finally breaks and they're trying to destroy S.H.I.E.L.D. and they're all messing each other up, like that kind of screws up a whole lot of stuff in the sky. Because you also have those 3 helicarriers, which are great. But now you're down to 1 helicarrier. You still have a helicarrier. You still have a freaking carrier out there in the world who now Nick Fury is a Skrull. So what is his responsibility?
His responsibility is none, really, is what it comes down to.
He doesn't care. He doesn't need to care.
But think about this. Let's go back to the Hulk room for a second. Now, I'm not even going into the air travel yet. Mm-hmm. I like where your head is at, though. But the Hulk room, and what you're saying to me is that it was you felt like S.H.I.E.L.D. had a handle on it. But if you remember, the Hulk room only dropped when the Hulk would hit the walls. So they didn't control when it dropped.
No, but they can still, an alarm will go off, I'm sure, on someone's panel. At which point, probably the guy playing, Snake. But once it goes off, he's going to be able to notify whoever's local, find out what position they are, the trajectory of drop. They have to have trackers on it. I'm sure.
But what if the Hulk is shifting it? He's that strong. What if
but you're going to get close enough to a good idea. Look, either way, you're screwed because someone is going to drop that ball after you drop that Hulk. You know what I'm saying? So
now, John Wass, you bring up a point where the Iron Man armor and anything similar to it is technically an aircraft and has to be registered with the FAA before it leaves the ground. I'd agree.
That would be nice.
But it isn't.
If you had a multimillionaire who wasn't a drunk just dicking off on a Sunday.
Now, keep in mind, Jarvis infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D.'s deepest, darkest secrets. And we know that those files existed with computer digitally, those files existed saying that Hydra infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. We know they existed.
Yes.
Now, where does that go? Where do you go with that? Because how did Jarvis know that and not let them know when he found all of their secrets? Or did Tony only focus on one secret? Now, I don't want to get away from air travel. This is getting back to my point because we're going to have the whole series to talk about this shit.
Yeah, we got a lot, y'all.
But this going back to my air travel portion of it. Tony flat out doesn't want to let anybody know what he's doing or where he's flying or when he's flying. Yeah, he just wants to do his thing. So he's not registered. Even the Sokovia Accords, even if they have an air travel registration, that came years, almost 10 years after Tony's been doing his thing.
And then you're telling me that Ultron took the time to register all of the power armors he created, all the mini versions of him, and then the mega versions of him? No chance, Lance. Like, there's no way.
And how many other flying ships, like Radar brings up a good point of saying, what about the alien craft? That came out in the 90s. And we knew what was up because we had Captain Marvel in the 90s. Was she registered? Could she come back? How in-depth do we get there? What do the everyday people that work in air regulations have to do and know and prepare for? Is there insurance for this?
It has to change after the Sokovia. After the Sokovia incident, after basically the Ultrons trying to take over, you have to then, part of the Sokovia Accords is to ensure that you are registering yourself, as along with the FAA and everything else along those. You know who didn't, though? Wakanda.
Yep.
How about some Wakandan technology? Look, I'm not saying they're all brilliant, not amazing crafts. And I mean, they were stealth and they could see everything. But I've worked with a lot of people who are been aircraft maintainers. And I would just can only speak for that brief experience to say, not everything gets up there right.
Yeah.
So chances are something goes down, some mistake happens. Like,
and if we only take Wakanda and we go by Wakanda and we say, okay, Wakanda was the biggest push for the Sokovia Accords. And I get it. Listen, he built a comet basically out of a city, and that's air regulations nightmare enough. And that's a villain doing it. And a villain is not going to, register with the New York courts. But let's say the king of Wakanda is now pushing for this Accords. They still never let anybody know because everybody thought Wakanda was a third world country.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So nobody knew the technology that they had and that wasn't registered, especially the flight technology, which drone aircrafts like we get.
Yeah.
They didn't come out until after Black Panther. So this is long before.
I mean, you also had gliders. I mean, you got to think you also still had, anything that was the Chitauri that was able to be retconned and used again, like with the Vulture, creating the wings and the backpack, and the glider pack and all these other things. So there's a lot of stuff just flying around, zooming around out there. And how much technology they also showed with even Iron Man 1. That Stark missiles were being sold and able to be out there in the world, somewhere in the world that just would get lost. Like that's a lot of ammo. It's a lot of stuff out there. And I know Tony was trying to go through and destroy it all, but that creates so much havoc as an air traffic controller to know that there's randomly some SAM missiles that could just go flying on through.
Now think about it from this perspective too. All right, we go to, Iron Man 3. We go to, where all of his suits are flying.
Yeah.
And he's just calling them.
Right.
Jarvis is, of course, controlling them, but he's calling them. And so they're all flying through the air now and fighting at a Los Angeles seaport, which is a huge destructive thing as it is. And we can get into how it handles with the sea later.
Oh, shipping is going to be, we can compare shipping stuff. That's going to be insane. When we get to the shipping portion of all this, that's going to be a full hour. That topic is required.
We have corruption plans here. We have to talk about population control. We have to talk about everything.
Also, if we understood how Claw was able to ship everything around, like, come on, that's where Claw operates.
Black market. But think about it like this. So was Wakanda. Wakanda was
but no, because Wakanda never left their borders. They were really big on we don't expose beyond our borders. You know what I'm saying?
But their technology I can't. Even if it's just Black Panther traveling to Germany for an Accord, he left with technology that was far advanced and not registered.
Yeah, that's 100% correct.
In the Accords. So the Accords really did nothing. Let's face facts. They've done nothing. But let's
they created some it was a really good reason for Iron Man and Captain to fight.
But think about this, going all the way back to Iron Man and Ironmonger's fight in the first Iron Man. That was an air battle just as much as it was on the street level. So now, not to mention that the air was shot with an arc reactor explosion. Now, air regulations aside, how many planes could have been affected by that?
Oh, if it acts as an EMP, imagine how many EMPs have been set off in this whole series that we've seen.
Now, take Iron Man 2 and Justin Hammer's. You think they were registered, his military bots? Because they were not registered because they were not bought by the military yet.
Right.
He made those to show off at the Stark Expo to be purchased by the military. And so they're not registered and they were flying around killing everybody. And then you get to Iron Man 3 with Iron Man suits blowing up a seaport to try and stop these monsters that you think anybody in the government, especially air traffic control or shipping, knew.
I mean, think about how many that Happy uncovered, how many murders there were that he found out that all linked together from people using the extremists and just kaboom.
And now think about this. You are an FAA employee who has to go out and you have to not diagnose, but you have to investigate all of these occurrences just in the first 3 Ironman, and let's say Age of Ultron with Sokovia and Sokovia being dropped.
Well, that's not a just. That turns
that's
into
not
everything.
You're absolutely right. It's not a just. So you do all of this. You work on this. You are probably one of the ones working with the bureaucrats that are going to put together a plan in the Sokovia Accords, which we know gets washed out and nothing happens with it afterwards. Fast forward to Far From Home. And the flying drones, Stark drones, now I'm not even talking about Barf. I'm not even talking about Mysterio's holographic thing that is tearing up cities as it is. I'm talking about the Stark drones that he ends up using. They're more high-tech and can act out. And they are unregistered.
Unregistered pieces.
Who was pushing for it.
Who registered, mind you, he registered a satellite for all of them to be up there in. So you have that coverage. Like, I'm sure from a financial standpoint, you could say, hey, we told y'all a satellite was going up there. Telling you that it was filled with killer drones wasn't necessarily our option at the time. It wasn't on the table.
Radar, you're absolutely right. The great William Shatner did play the president in Iron Man 3. And they were fighting right next to the president of the United States. And we will get to the government side of things and just the presidential leadership and how much it just doesn't exist in a world like this later. That's going to be another one.
Because how can it? Like,
no, I don't want to get into that now. That's down the line. That's down the line. We got to cover just air. We haven't even gotten to tourism yet.
Yeah, true.
So just think about the air regulations nightmare that goes on in the MCU. And it still does all the way up to our most recent event of No Way Home. I mean, the Statue of Liberty. I mean, there were and again, we're not even getting into the multiverse yet, but there were tears in the sky. What about planes flying through New York that day? Like,
dude, not even that day. Yeah, I'd be flying over the city, flying through New York, having to deal with the Chitauri, having to deal with other alien invasions. Nobody's warning these people of this happening. You know what I'm saying? No one is aware of anything until they look up in the sky of eating their hot dog and go, "What in the shit? What happened today, Ethel?"
You think about this, like anybody flying a plane into LaGuardia in New York or into JFK in New York, and the literal sky is opening up with figures in No Way Home. Sorry if I'm spoiling for anybody, but this is a part of the conversation. And who do you call? Do you call air traffic control? Do you think Doctor Strange stopped by and was like, hey, listen, by the way, it's going to be tears in the fabric of time and space?
There's another one. How about some wacky magicians who are in training and do their spiral spinny portal thing and suddenly wind up kablooey? Half your plane gets transported, or maybe they cut a fucking wing off that gets all of a sudden disappeared into another dimension or place or thing or time.
And even if you take that element out of it, and how is that not a thing after Radar's point here? How much of a nightmare was it for the FAA after Air Force One incident from Iron Man 3?
Yeah.
When he had to go on, and the president wasn't even on the plane. He had to save everybody else on the plane. Yeah. It's such a nightmare scenario, and it never got fixed. The only time, and I hate to say this, and we will get into this more in depth down the line too, but it only got better after Thanos' snap for that 5 years. That's when you were at your safest.
I'm sorry. So you're talking about the snap where immediately following it, pilots disappeared and planes just fell out of the fucking sky.
No, we saw that too. We saw the helicopter crash. Absolutely.
Not okay, man.
No,
not okay.
I mean, and that is a scenario where, again, if you're like the FAA or somebody and you're like, or any world
what if you're the air traffic controller calling at that moment? You're calling at that time and you're in the middle of a situation where you have 9 planes that are coming in hot and things are all screwy and they're off pattern and a little course adjustment is required. And then boom, all of a sudden, 5 years later, you show back up in a tower, but you don't recognize anyone around you and your headset's not on and you don't understand what just happened. And you find out hours later, once people say, wow, you snapped away, you disappeared. And they go, what happened? And, you have to ask, I was working these different flights. What happened to these flights? And they're like, they all crashed and everyone died.
Now think about it from this perspective. Just even a representative of everything you're saying in the air, that helicopter that crashed because the pilot clearly blipped.
Yeah.
5 years later, where does that pilot blip back to?
Right in the middle of the sky, and they all fall out of it.
Yeah. Can you imagine? And it's instantaneous. They've shown to us that it's instantaneous for everybody who blipped. As they left and blipped out, they came right back, but it was 5 years later. Can you imagine the sheer terror and what the FAA, and I keep talking about the FAA, but anybody who's dealing with air regulation now has to deal with people falling out of the sky. This is a living nightmare in sections.
Imagine around the airport. Imagine the bodies falling out of the sky next to the airport.
It would
Carnage.
I can only compare it in my mind to a scenario like when you watch like those pandemic movies and birds just start falling out of the sky.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to sound grotesque or gruesome or anything about it.
But it's fair. It's honest, man. Look, I mean, coroners are having a tough time. Think of how many truckloads of bodies they're going to have to carry around after this. Like, it's horrifying. There's an entire sea of first responders who will never be right in the head again. Just from the blip alone. Forget
just from
everything
that
else.
aspect of the blip. Not even the aspect of the blip of like millions of people just showing back up. After how many people in 5 years are maybe born? And stuff like that. Like, and you're not even talking about people. Now you have more of everything, all animals, anything that was living. Does it count for trees?
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't count for plant life, you take it out of it. Birds in the sky. Now you have planes flying around. How many eagles just popped up?
And just immediately the last 4 eagles on Earth show up and then get smoked by some like C5 coming through, just eats them in those giant Pratt & Whitneys.
And now think about it from this perspective. And this is, again, an air regulation nightmare where, okay, everyone just blipped out. 5 years later, you don't know that the Avengers are going on a time heist. They're not announcing this. Again, that's a whole other episode where we talk about the time travel ramifications of what that caused. But they went on a time heist to save everybody. Mm-hmm. They didn't tell anyone that they were going to snap everybody back into existence. They didn't even know how it worked.
Yeah. I mean, how are you supposed to? How are you supposed to know how it worked the first time? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, who is legitimately telling you, hey, so this giant purple dude is going to actually grab this gauntlet, put a bunch of shiny rocks on it. When he snaps his fingers, half of all the population is going to disappear. What is that? How do you wrap your head around that?
Now think about the mental health capacity of people who dealt with losing people during the blip. We saw how it affected people's lives and how people were not getting over it well. Yeah. And we can just have an episode on the blip, but now everybody snapped back in. And as soon as they're snapped back in, the Avengers compound has like a 10 football field size aircraft carrier in the sky, alien spaceship attacking it. And bodies flying through the air, you got to imagine all over the world at some place. I'm not saying everywhere in the world. I'm just saying all over the world in spots.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a giant chunk of the Northeast that was able to see those ships. I don't know how much of the Earth, but definitely
that was New York.
Canada, all in New York, all New England, maybe to Michigan you could see.
Now think about it like this. All of this is happening. People are appearing in your everywhere, all over. And then, even if you can't see this giant spaceship and you're in New York City, which has already been attacked, and we will talk about this another time with the attack on New York from an alien entity.
Right.
Think about the mental health ramifications of this UFO raining fire from its guns, and then a magical being from space flew through it. It crashed. That's gotta make a sound. That's got to make a sound that everybody hears. And nobody knows. And it's just, you have to think about the logistical nightmare just in the sky that day caused.
I got a crazy one for you.
What?
Someone who blips, who's a nurse. No. Someone who's a patient, who's literally on their deathbed, blips moments before their death, blips back to the same nurse, same room, and then has like 10 minutes to die.
All right, we got to save that one for another one.
You're saying mental health, bro. You want to get in there.
No, I want to talk about the mental health ramifications too. That is going to be an episode. Again, in this series, we're going to cover everything from that point of view.
We should just call this the introduction. This is the table of contents for how what we're going to be going through for this.
We started subtle. We're going air regulations, and we're going to ease up and go a little bit into tourism. But my point here is, remember, everybody, we are also going to try and get actual people who know these different things, like the the mental health aspect and things like that, to come in and help us discuss this, because it's going to be a huge event. So we are going to get there. But let's move on, because I feel like we need to lighten up a little bit. I need to anyway, and talk about the tourism and how tourism is run now in just the MCU.
Well, firstly, I can tell you that depending on what point we're discussing, Sokovia has become a spot.
I don't doubt that at all. Well, it did become a missionary spot, because I remember they talked about it.
Yep. So it's definitely one of those places where you're going to start seeing an increase in tourism in real random places. Unfortunately, New York City is going to get a huge bump. Or, I don't know, is there a backside to this? Is there a backlash to this where who the fuck wants to go to New York City? There's a chance aliens are going to pop out of the sky and murder us all. We
know this now. Okay, so go back to No Way Home.
Okay.
We see New York City. So everything after the attack on New York, we know Daredevil is still a bustling city. Daredevil shows it's still a bustling city. Now, it doesn't mean tourism. But we get the tourism idea because, think about it. No Way Home takes place in 2024. Hawkeye takes place in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is the case, we get those 2 years that are the most recent up-to-date looks at what New York City is like, and it is packed. And that is the city that was attacked.
But it's not. Because it is not, I'm sorry, in Hawkeye, Rockefeller Square was not what Rockefeller Center is. It was not as bustling. It was not as packed. I beg you to go back and rewatch that. It is packed much more with New Yorkers. It's now packed with the out-of-towners doing the oohs and ahs. I mean, Yelena Belova is one of the out-of-towners doing the oohs and ahs, for crying out loud. So it's a slim number of people.
Here's the thing. In New York City, you can close the rink, and the rink will be empty if you close it. Now, the tree is a lot harder to close, but in special events, in case of special events, especially like rich events, and if Rockefeller wants to do it, they can close the plaza.
Okay.
So I can suspend disbelief there that maybe it was closed and that's why there weren't a lot of people there. But if you take out of that, because if you go back a year before to No Way Home, when Spider-Man is swinging around at the end in New York City over Rockefeller Center, it's packed at Christmas time.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I'll give you that. Yep.
So, and I have no reason to believe that a year later it would just be dead. So that's why I'm suspending that this week. Now,
and honestly, enough people are going to want to go see Steve Rogers' old apartment in Queens, or Brooklyn.
Yeah.
He was a Brooklyn kid.
I think he was Brooklyn in the movie, and he was Hell's Kitchen in the comics originally.
Yeah, but I think it's Brooklyn, right?
Yeah,
Hell's Kitchen is Brooklyn. Yeah, and then Spider-Man's Queens. Current Earth Spider-Man.
Well, he's always been Queens. Spider-Man's always.
Oh, okay.
He moved to Manhattan later on for college.
Yeah, that's what I always think of when he was on his own. He was in Manhattan, right?
But he's from Queens, absolutely. Yeah. Radar brings up a good point. The Rogers musical is definitely bringing in tourists. And to add to that point and to go to No Way Home some more, because remember, No Way Home takes place a year before Hawkeye.
Mm-hmm.
Because it takes place within the same year of him coming back and and Far From Home and what happened there and dealing with that. So we get to that December and how that's dealing. And they are already putting the Captain America shield
on the Statue of Liberty. Yep.
This is now we know the musical's coming, and we know it's coming a year later because it's opening. It's like towards its opening in Hawkeye,
right?
Which is not out of the realm of possibility or weird for a Broadway show to start like putting out there. We're gonna a big one, especially that this is coming in a year.
Oh no, it totally makes sense, and especially if you're going to have Roger from Rent playing one of the roles. I mean,
true,
you gotta pimp that, man. You gotta bring that noise.
It was kind of fun to see Roger from Rent show up.
Yeah, I was so excited, man. I just love Roger's the musical. When they did that little bit right after, I couldn't have been happier.
Yeah,
that was
people who didn't like that,
such a great addition to Hawkeye.
I truly hate people who didn't like that. They're cesspool of humanity.
Wow. Holy shit. But tourism, another thing for tourism is you're going to have a lot of places where the battles happen. People are going to want to check that out. How many fanboys and girls are going to want to go see the places where Mjolnir landed?
Yep.
Go see the places where the Rainbow Bridge actually came, like because it leaves that print of scorch mark on the earth.
Oh yeah. Think about it. Westview is going to get out there, and that's going to be a thing. Now this tiny town in New Jersey is just going to be a tourist attraction for people.
Oh, hey,
weird.
I got a fucking point for you too. Before we go too far on the air regulation, what happens if the Scarlet Witch decides to change reality around you so your plane is now different as you're flying through the airspace?
That's true. It did prove that it does that. It does it to drones, does it to missiles, does it to so many different things.
Yeah.
You can change reality. And what happened with that? That's a great point, my friend.
That's terrifying because, I mean, it could be great. You could wind up, I don't know, in like one of those old C-37 Goonie birds or something, something like that, like one of the old Howard Hughes original liners. Like, okay, that could be neat.
That's just falling out of the sky. Oh man. Well, so you get all of these things, and they're coming in, and like remember, S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't exist anymore towards the later part. After Winter Soldier, really, S.H.I.E.L.D. was not what it was.
They tried, but notice how it even broke down further.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. The S.H.I.E.L.D. continued to fall apart, and it was cool to see.
And of course, then we're going to find out, and they've been kind of hinting at that they've been building S.W.O.R.D. up in that time, which makes sense. And S.H.I.E.L.D. then they had to do that to. But okay, so we got to talk about those ramifications down the line too. Of Skrulls help run S.W.O.R.D.
Yeah.
And now S.H.I.E.L.D., our biggest thing with S.H.I.E.L.D. was the secret of Hydra was actually infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and was running it. And then when we find that out, like they still have a helicarrier after we find that out.
That's the thing. Remember, they take it out of mothballs, as he says?
Yeah. And like, so S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't an American government regulated thing anymore, or council, or there's no UN council running this. And they can just fly. That's how this works now. Like
that's screwed up, man. Because the whole point of having that government regulation was just have a little oversight. That Nick Fury pretty much looked like he ran doing whatever he wanted. He still had some oversight. He still had someone to answer to. He still had a council. So
True.
Eventually, if you have people who are in charge of all these things going rogue and not listening anymore, does it matter? The fuck does it matter? Like, you think they're going to care enough to hit up? Hey, we're coming into your airspace there, I don't know, Germany. So we're just going to be cruising on through. Now they don't give a shit. A Lufthansa plane fucking flies into the side of them. They just go, whoops.
If it's a council, if it's a world council that does this, does the FAA know about the raft in the middle of the ocean that you can only fly to?
Yeah, because what happens there if you have who's going to sit there and regulate those helicopters flying through there? No one's going to pay attention to them. So you could legitimately have the Coast Guard out there and just bing, boom, bam, and fall apart. Like that's terrifying.
Back to the tourism standpoint. So think about like Harlem now. Luke Cage is running Harlem. But remember when the Hulk and the Abomination had the gigantic fight that was going through there and tearing up Harlem? What was the reconstruction like for the tourism on that? Because obviously it was a bustling cityscape we saw in Luke Cage.
We clearly got to see exactly what happened there. Yeah. Gentrification.
Gentrification, absolutely. But it had to have become a tourist trap. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All of New York basically got locked in.
Stark Tower.
But still, I question how many people were. I'd be wary as shit to go out there, quite frankly.
Like on Homecoming, when they're moving everything out of Stark Tower and selling the Avengers building.
Mm-hmm.
What does that become? Who buys that?
Right? And then think about LA. What happens when you have a giant fucking EMP go off and take out who knows who was around during that first fight in when the arc reactor goes off? Like, that's an EMP. You have just fired an electromagnetic pulse due to the power of what you have. You're knocking planes out of the sky, man. I mean, they zapped power, in the whole city? Like 5 city blocks or some crazy such?
It's got to be a logistical nightmare for everything, because now now remember, a lot of this is powered by the arc reactor, as you're saying, and you're fitting tourists in there and you're putting devices in their hands, because you have to imagine that all of the devices that we're holding and things like that. Look what Tony Stark just had. He had holographics. Yep. So you have to imagine there's some sort of sellable equivalent of that to people.
Well, I mean, I'm sure Justin Hammer's working on a version.
In prison. So like just that alone, how does
New York City?
Yeah. How does that affect where you're going with it and things like that? Like, do people go visit the South African terrorist spot? Where Crossbones came in.
What happens with Wakanda? Are people going to travel to Wakanda now? Because remember, by the time up to where we are now, they have opened their doors.
Yeah.
They officially went, we will no longer close ourselves off. And so what does that mean?
Well, I'm leaving that one open because Wakanda Forever is coming out soon, and we'll get an idea of what the ramifications of that were. Mm-hmm. Because I have to imagine opening themselves up, and then we get the blip. Close a lot of that off.
Possibly it depends on who stayed in charge. Like, was Shuri still around?
No, she blipped too.
So then, was it Okoye? Was it the general who was in charge? Because she definitely would have locked shit down.
I think Okoye might have been in charge, or might have been Winston Duke's character. Oh, we'll see. We're going to find out.
I love M'Baku. Like, he's great. Like, it's amazing. Did he survive and stick around? That'll be a lot of fun to find out. Because if he did, he probably went back more tribal, potentially. Who knows?
The FAA definitely did a bad job tracking all 3 mandarins. I'm sure.
Yeah. Also, how terrible is it that all these guys are able to put up, like, different fronts who are the bad guys, and they don't even care. It doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? It has no effect on anyone.
Yeah.
They can just keep our ability to track the bad guy is just shot. And I love the MCU does show that. Like, the reality of it is we suck. We don't do it well.
And it's the old Batman rule. Like when the Joker steps in and says, like, you're going to have a different type of bad guy now. This, needs a different element because you've upped the game. Now, that's a man in a bat suit with gadgets upping the game. And, like, look at his rogues gallery. He has a goddamn crocodile and a zombie running around in the sewers. Going over to Marvel, you have, from Iron Man in the short amount of time after Iron Man, what the game has been upped and how hardcore it has gone forward. Yeah. I mean, we literally have interdimensional villains showing up now. It's over at this point. Like, we have no control over who the villains are. And I don't even want to pretend to try. But so now take that into effect. The tourism in that standpoint, you never know when or where people are going to strike. Or why.
It doesn't work like that.
It's and granted that the same could be said in the world that we live in, but it's definitely more terrifying when the villains are turned up to 11.
Well, that's one of the scariest things is, we get introduced to all these different worlds and we kind of forget about all the things that are happening here and who's been affected and where do they go. And that's one of the most exciting parts that this series is going to be delving deeper into.
Yep.
Welcome to Earth. Let's chat.
So that I said that's a good place to kind of put a pin in our first part 1 of phase 1 with air regulations towards, and we will be coming back soon because we want to get into the religious aspect, we want to get into the government aspect, everything. We are going to touch down on all of this stuff. So if you guys are enjoying it, please jump in the comments because we're going to read them all afterwards and stuff like that and have a good time. Thanks so much for joining in. If you guys are up for it, please head over to our website, thescenesnobs.com. You can join our Discord, become a Patreon member, get the free perks. We are going to be doing our monthly giveaway. I was going to announce it tonight, but I don't have it in front of me, so I'm going to wait on that until next week, and then I'll announce the winner at the same time. So yeah, we're just having a fun time. We're shop our merch, things like that. Go check it out all on thescenesnobs.com. I want to thank my counterpart, Mr. Casey Plott.
It's a pleasure as always. I thank you so much. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. I hope you had a good time and enjoyed a little bit of this, and hope we can keep on cruising with this fun discussion and so many more topics that we may or may not get to, which is always an adventure. So I just want to say I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Take care of yourselves and be kind to others.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you, AJ. Appreciate you watching. Radar, everybody who joined in. Thank you so much. Please, hopefully you enjoyed this discussion, and let us know what you want to hear about when it comes to this phase one, or even going forward. If there's aspects of the MCU that you think need to be discussed, let us know. You can always message us. Also, the Snobby Awards are coming up very soon. So if you have a show or you have a show that you want to submit it to thescenesnobs@gmail.com. You can go check out our social media. It's all there. Thank you guys again for watching. Really appreciate you. I'm Mick Manhattan, joined as always with the man Casey Plott. We will see you next Tuesday. Be on the lookout for this week. We're going to have a review of Scream coming out. We'll talk to you. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, stay golden, pony boy.
Love you guys. Stay tuned and stay geeky. Thanks for watching and listening, everybody. I'm the Scene Snob, Mick Manhattan. You can check out the Scene Snobs podcast live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel or all podcast platforms afterwards. Also on our YouTube channel, you can check out great shows like Real Combat, the ultimate debate show for movie lovers, mixed movie picks with new recommendations every week, Geek Fest Live every Sunday night, and new movie reviews and news all the time. Like and subscribe, then hit the notification bell so you know when all of our new episodes drop. Thank you so much to all of our amazing Patreon supporters, with whom this would not be possible. They help keep the lights on and support us in such big ways. If you would like to become a supporter on our Patreon and take advantage of all the perks like monthly giveaways, early access, and so much more, head on over to the Scene Snobs Patreon page and just sign up on one of our 2 tiers. Join our awesome community of geeks, movie lovers, and so much more, and join up on our Discord. The Scene Snobs Discord is now live, and you can head over to thescenesnobs.com for links to there and more. The Scene Snobs merch store is now open with original fun designs that are available on all different types of merch and apparel. Check out thescenesnobsmerch.com. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media accounts like TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and so many more. We have fun updates, topics, we talk about collectibles, and so much more on there. It's a great time. You can find all of our links to everything on thescenesnobs.com or on our Linktree, which are down in the descriptions below. Thanks again, everyone. Stay tuned and stay geeky.